wanted to go back early in the presentation. You talk about real evidence, and it seems there's one of the issues is the data. And I think if you said that NASA is manipulating the temperature data, their temperature data. It's hard for me to believe that, and I was just wondering what would be the motivation that they would have to manipulate temperature data? Why do you think that?
I have no idea. I have no idea what people are thinking. What I can tell you with absolute certainty is that I have seen the original data that was collected at many places, and then I have seen that same data graphed by NASA, by NOAA, and by the CDDC, which is an arm of NASA, in 1980, and it was different. And I saw it again in, I don't know, 1990, 2000, and it was different yet. And I saw it again in 2000 and something or other, and it was different yet, and each case higher. So I'll let you draw your own conclusions for that. I have no idea about motivation or anything else. I'm not a mind reader. All I can tell you is what I observe, and that is well documented.
Senator Anker.
Thank you. Along the same lines, and thank you, Senator Billig, for following up on that line of questioning. I think it's really important. You've mentioned a couple times in your presentation that none of this is being reported on because the media won't cover it. Could you enlighten us a little bit more on what's happening there?
If you look at any major network TV program, how many headlines have you seen that say we have unprecedented global warming, and how many headlines have you seen that, gee folks, the climate's cooling, gee, it's the coldest winter in 100 years in Europe, gee folks, it's cooler? And the answer for my own personal experience is none. I can tell you personally that a few years ago, the New York Times did a feature presentation on some of my material, and I was called by every major national TV network, ABC, NBC, CBS, Malauer, the whole bunch. And then one by one.
Fox is behind you. You better say Fox.
Fox, CNN, everybody, yeah. And so guess what? NBC called back and said, oh, we decided not to do that. CBS called back and said, oh, we're not going to do that. MSNBC did do an interview, CNN did, and Fox did, and CBS later did. But ABC, NBC, all of those withdrew their interest in interviewing. So from a personal experience, I have experienced that news blackout, and all you would have to do to recount the headlines of, gee folks, we have accelerating global warming, we're all going to die, and how often do you see reports of it's the coldest winter in 100 years? You don't see that at all. You just count them, and it's a no-brainer.
Dr. Easterbrook, I had a question on one of your early slides. If we could go back, I think it was slide number 3 or 4, if we could get in there. And
let's go to...
one was CO2 graphed with the temperatures, and it showed the curve if you were to extend it with the CO2 from the 40s going onwards.
Okay, I'm going to go back.
You end show, and then you can go to slide sorter.
Stop me when I get there.
Okay. If you go all the way down to end show, you can pull up slide sorter if this is a PowerPoint. Yeah, there we go. On the left.
Okay.
So go up to the top, go up to the top. You're back up, back up, back up, all the way to the top.
Okay, we're at the top.
All right, now come down to that, keep right there, that slide, second one from the top on your list right there.
This one?
Yeah.
That one.
So I don't understand about this one. If we're showing temperatures, this I think gets back to Senator Anker's question a little bit about coldest time versus coolest, you know, in terms of the last 12 years. When I look at the chart, though, what I see the temperatures listed for the coming into it ends in 2000. That would be the difference. It ends in 2000, going backwards, being warmer than it was in the 30s. So maybe I'm not reading the chart correctly.
No, you're reading the chart correctly. This is data. If you look at the source of the data here, HADCRUT is the climate data that comes from East Anglia in England, which was the site of the Klima-Gate scandal, incidentally, which is another issue altogether. And so their data tends to be roughly the same as the NASA manipulated data. And
I didn't
so
ask that question, but well,
yeah.
Could you go to the slide right above it? Maybe that's the one I was thinking about.
This one.
Yeah, and that Oh, so I see now, when you see the spikes back in the 30s, but even there is the same. I don't understand this data because that still looks to me like it's cooler in the 30s on that data than today.
Okay, what I can tell you is that if you look at the source of the data, this is Headcroft data, which is the East Anglia data, which is the same as the NOAA and the NASA data, and they have suppressed this. I can show you the before and after the suppression, and essentially what they do is they make what they call an adjustment. And if you can imagine a glass of pure water and a glass of sludge. And what they do is to say, well, we've got these weather stations that give us pure water, but we've got these other ones that are sludge because the stations give really inconsistent data. So what we're going to do is we're going to mix the two together. We're going to homogenize them. They call this homogenization of data. And then what you end up with is something that's, guess what? It's no longer pure. And so what they do then is they make the correction based on this mixture rather than just using the pure data. I'm looking at the pure data. They're looking at the sludge affected data.
Gotcha.
Okay?
Do you have any other questions? Seeing none, I'd just like to thank you for the chance to come in today and testify in front of the committee, Dr. Easterbrook. I thought it was a very interesting presentation. And I think that obviously there are disagreements in Olympia and in the scientific world with regards to the material you presented today. But I think as legislators and members of the Senate Energy, Environment, and Telecommunications Committee, it's important that we take a look at all the data that's available to us to be able to make informed decisions as we go forward, because we have some major decisions that we're making here in the coming years with regards to long-term energy structure issues in Washington State and how we handle a lot of different decisions coming before us. So I think it's important that we take a good hard look at all of the data that we can and continue moving forward in our role as legislators to try to make informed decisions. So I think that your being here today was a good one for us to be able to take a look at the data that you present to us. And I really appreciate you taking the time out of your schedule to be here with us today.
Well, thank you for inviting me, and I would urge you to don't believe what I say. Look at the data, and you can arrive at your own conclusions because data speaks way louder than opinions.
We should